Welcome back to the Artificial DM. We're going to be taking another look at r/RPG horror stories. First off, we've got a brief crossover from D&D Green Text. This is posted by PM Me Big Kitties. Why are all the new players such edgelords? Be me, DM for a few good friends. Playing online to social distance. Newfound flexibility allows a few more distant friends to try joining. They've never played before. Direct them to step-by-step character in PHB. Figure they'll be fine. Tell them official content only, and make characters that will want to work with the party. New player 1 makes Blood Hunter. Mauled as a child and taken in by a strict master. Super aloof and brooding. Says he wants to be hired to assassinate the party. New player 2 chooses Pyromancer Sorcerer. My face when I said no Unearthed Arcana.
Fine, I'll just do whatever you want then.
Finishes making character. Tiefling, Haunted 1 background, Chaotic Neutral, Abyssal as only language, Killed girlfriend in rage. Personality trait.
I kill anything I want to kill to live life to the fullest.
Tell him he should tone it down.
Anon, what the flute? You said make whatever I want.
My face when all the new players are huge edgelords and don't even understand why that's a problem. I believe the thing with new players, they don't know what to expect when it comes to playing D&D, and so they make characters that they believe are cool without realizing that the game is a cooperative party game. And I know that part of that job of tying the party together is the DM's job, but if he wanted a party of good characters, he should have laid that out as the rule as well. This story is from As You Wish 05. We fought a black dragon at level 2 with 3 characters. Edit. This was the last part of the quest that we had figured out to do. It was also the first quest of the campaign. I was playing D&D yesterday, and we were level 2. The players were a paladin, a rogue, and a ranger. I was the paladin. We were exploring a dungeon filled with kobolds, and eventually we come to a large door. At this point, we had just finished a short rest, but had no spells. We opened a door, and there was a black dragon. We booked it, and I went down. The ranger and rogue escaped. The black dragon was apparently a polymorphing were-dragon, and he started to interrogate me. All my stuff, except my holy symbol and my ring of messages, were gone. Keep in mind, my chainmail had just been eaten by a rust monster, so my 18 AC went to 12. But my shield was also gone, so I had 10 AC. So I used my ring of messages to have my friends kill the wizard. They tried and failed. The wizard ended up following us to our hard-to-reach rest spot. My character sacrificed himself for his friends. The ranger and rogue went back to town and picked up my new character, a bard. We went back down to the dragon's chambers. There were 5 kobolds and the wizard. I took out the kobolds with a sleep spell, and the wizard polymorphed. Once he had used his breath weapon, it was all over. He was at 1 HP. When it comes to D&D, there is a fine line of balance when it comes to choosing your monsters to have a decent challenge for your players, and I still struggle with this when it comes to making my games. And this just seems like a story that the DM really didn't understand what he was doing, and decided that a were-dragon would be an interesting fight without taking into consideration that the party was weakened and that it would be a little bit difficult for them to fight. This post is from Siragus. Pervy player ruins game for all. Okay, so when I was in college, I decided to run a game for the first time in a few years, 5e, and so we got the party together. The players that matter to the story are Dave, an elf ranger, my girlfriend at the time, who played a half-elf rogue, and Joe, who played a dragonborn monk, with a tail, because why not? And yes, all names have been changed. Now, Dave was not great mechanically, trying to shoot through Joe's dragonborn on many occasions, and trying to melee a flying dragon, but whatever, we all make silly mistakes. That is not how he caused the problems. At the time, I allowed drinking at the table because we were all chilling as friends, and what the hell? It hadn't caused any issues before. One night, the party were in a dungeon searching for the imprisoned demon to either slay or free it. They hadn't agreed yet, and Dave decides to move to the other side of the table. No, this is a smallish coffee table with a classroom-sized whiteboard on it. He forced himself between the wall and the table right next to my girlfriend and proceeded to start groping her. He had always been creepily flirting with her, but it was only mildly annoying as she shot him down in some entertaining ways. But he was literally groping her, sitting barely 5 feet from me. At this point, I closed the book and kicked him out of the room, and we all agreed from then on there would be no alcohol. The sad thing is, this is not the end of the story. In the next session, thinking with no booze things like this would not happen again, I was wrong. After attempting to shoot through the Dragonborn's legs, through his tail, which, doesn't work, he literally had to step 1 square to the side, but proceeded to start trying to cuddle my girlfriend, at which point she froze. There was a history between them I didn't know about, but him trying to cuddle and grope her within 5 feet of me was not appropriate. As I'm sure you can guess, this player is far from welcome again, and we never invited him again. He did, however, turn up to play again, but that is a story for another time. This post is from the user, Call Me Mr. Peaches. The story of the time I totally didn't get kicked out of a D&D group. This is going to be a long one, even after editing down, so strap in. Around 4 years ago, I had moved to a new town. Fresh out of college, and having played some form of RPG since middle school, I figured joining a group was as good a way as any to meet people in a new place. And wouldn't you know it, there was a post on the local gaming Facebook group looking for players. So I messaged to join, and ended up meeting the GM and his girlfriend at the local game store for some regular board games, just to confirm I wasn't a psychopath. Things went fine, and since they asked, I laid out my RPG philosophy. My priorities are character and scene, with plot falling somewhere below them and mechanics somewhere near the bottom. I want to tell a good story with friends, with a focus on those top 2, which are tabletop RPG strength in my opinion. I'm assured that I'll fit right in, as they are both aspiring writers, and GM's setting is a world that he's been working in for a while. I'm also told here that the party will be GM's girlfriend, Quiet, not much of a character in our story, myself, another relative stranger from the Facebook gaming group who's new to RPGs, we'll call him Bob. His role was more elaborated on in the first draft, but cut for length. Plus GM's best friend, his roommate, and the roommate's brother, all 3 of whom quit by session 4. Things go well for the first few months of sessions. I'm admittedly the loudest voice at the table. I try my best not to be that guy though. It's just that everybody else has much less experience and is much less comfortable acting in character. Anywho, it soon comes to light that the world GM's been working in for a while actually means that he's run 1 campaign in it before, but otherwise it's just the D&D expanded world, or whatever it's called. Nothing against it, just not super familiar. With some DMPCs. Red flag number 1. The more mathematically minded among you may have noticed that our player count, after 3 quitters, is somewhat low. Both GM and I agreed that when we started, that 4 to 5 is a preferable player count, so he brings in a friend from work, whom we'll call Jack. Pause for mechanics. I'm playing a straight out of the Player's Handbook D&D 3.5 Dwarf Cleric of Tyr, reskinned Hyrnus, I think? GM's girlfriend is a tiefling, but otherwise has stuck to the Player's Handbook as well. Bob is a human fighter, but took some variant from the DMG that I can't remember. The point is that we're all sticking to low power for 3.5 core books. Enter Jack's Adamantium Warforged Paladin. He's got natural DR10, or something, acts as a level 7, like the rest of us, Paladin. But the soul inside the Warforged is a high-level sorcerer with memory loss, which he slowly gains back as we progress, enabling him to cast as he remembers. He's got weapons with enchantments I've never heard of, which among other things allows his hammer to crit on a 10. His stats are astronomical, plus he carries a staff with another, even more powerful magic user trapped inside. Basically, another GMPC. Red flags number 2. Through 5, maybe? I'm assured that all of this is above board, and what isn't explicitly allowed by character creation is approved by the GM. Red flag 6. Not wanting to be a rules lawyer or rock the boat too badly, I let it go. We basically drop everything from before Jack arrived, and it becomes his story. Probably best we stop counting flags at this point. Jack's character uncovers some memory. We go there. There's combat. Rinse, repeat. There's a time skip. We're forcibly leveled to 18. Overpowered loot is dropped into our laps. There's out-of-game discussion between what I can only assume is the entire group minus me. As at one point, the group goes from having enough money to buy a district in Sigil to owning a district in Sigil, without discussing in-game. Now, on to what you came for. The party, world famous at this point, is leading the defense on Callum Deep, or whatever. We're interplanar tier at this point, so whatever. Against a demon invasion. My character, being mostly talky, is giving command of the city guard. Everyone else spreads out outside the city, and one-man armies it up. My guy defends the breach, dictates targets, etc. I think he did a pretty good job. At the end of the battle, he called off a battalion of archers from firing on a routed group of demons. These demons have been indicated through previous events in the story to be completely sapient, sometimes sympathetic, and often forced to fight against their will. Well, apparently in between the archers being called off and my character being able to rally them to fire again, the routed demons regrouped and slaughtered a company of mercenaries stationed outside the walls. First thing next session, our group is brought before the king of wherever we just saved. And after one line of praise and thanks, the calling off of the archers is brought up. My character explains what we've learned of the demons and expresses regret that the mercs died. The king declares I will be thrown in jail. The table is notably silent. Being lawful, I comply. Give up my gear willingly, eat food that cuts off my contact with my deity. Discuss out of character that I'm going to have to rely on the group to get me out. Group agrees. Then opens a portal to Sigil and floops off. I sit for 15 minutes waiting for discussion of how to free me. Nah, it's gonna be Jack's character's next quest. I say, alright, I guess this is gonna have to wait for next session, and leave early. I didn't go back for the next session. Nobody asked me even why. TLDR, joined a group. Things go okay for a bit. Power Gamer joins, group as a whole changes. I get definitely not kicked out. That story there is a big problem when it comes to power gaming, and how a group around the table can be expecting to tell more stories than to actually deal thousands of damage worth of dice, but somebody else, when they look at RPGs, their mind is switched to a different format of play. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever interacted with a power gamer, or if you have been one yourself. And if you have been one, or if you are one, explain why you enjoy it. I personally more enjoy the story aspect that's being told around the table, and people role-playing, but that could just be me. Anyway, that should do it for today. One quick note. Anybody who's interested in listening to more stories, I am going to be collaborating with a bunch of other content creators over at Quarantine Stories. It's going to be a lot more X and creepypasta stories over there, and I'll be reading a story for their channel once a week, but if you want to check it out, the link will be in the description below. Until next time, hope you feel inspired.